Hi, I'm Carla, and this is Coffee with Carla. And we have a very special guest today. His name is Ben Deatherage out of Cottage Grove, Oregon. And when I reached out to Ben, because there's a lot of things happening with him right now, and we wanted to see if he would share that with us, I asked him for a couple bullets. Could you just send me a couple bullets of some of the things you've done? Well, there is a huge list, and I'm just going to read through them really, really quick, kind of by year. In 2003, Ben started announcing at the age of 15 years old at Salem Indoor Speedway. And then in 2006, he became the full-time announcer at Cottage Grove Speedway. In 2012, he was the announcer and press officer for the ASCS Northwest. And in 2016, he started and founded his very own PR business, High Side Racing Promotions. He's announced at several, well, not several, dozens of racetracks in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Montana, Arizona, and Alberta. And in 2015 and 16, he was the announcer at Kokopah Speedway's Winter Heat. And in 2022, he became part of the broadcast team for the Red Bluff Outlaws. This year, in 2023, he has started a new podcast show called Getting Up to Speed with Ben Deatherage. How do you do it all, Ben?
I
Welcome
don't.
to the show.
Thank you for having. I don't know how I do it. I just do it. So,
Well, you know what? I'm going to go back now to something I put on the little poster, but I should have written it on here. Is you have a motto or a term that you love to live by? Is that it? And by one of your favorite um, people, I guess I would have said at the time.
um, gosh, I have a lot of little mottos. One I use a lot, especially when I'm going through a situation. It could be worse, but it could be a lot better.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, they say that you can live without, 7 days without food, 2 days without water, but you can never live without a second of hope. Um,
Good one.
Things like that. So
And
I
I
like
love the one, if you can dream it,
you can do it.
and that's by Walt Disney.
Mhm. That's correct. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of nice little Walt Disney, one-liners. It's kind of fun to do the impossible and things like that. Yeah. There's others. Napoleon Bonaparte. Probably there's a lot on there that I like. True victory isn't winning the battle; it's coming back from a setback and turning every setback into a step up. So.
Right. So, why or what was your attraction with racing in the beginning?
I really didn't have an option. I was just, I was indoctrinated early. My first race was Cottage Grove Speedway when I was 7 days old. It was a late model race with the posse, the Pacific Outlaw Super Stock Enterprise, what it was called. I think even Ivan Warden might have been at that race running Penny and Billy Nutter. But that I was just always there. And a lot of people don't know this. I was really sick as a kid. And the doctors said, you can't really go to places because if you catch a cold, like it's going to be lethal to you. But my parents asked, well, can he go outside? Absolutely. He gets fresh air. Good. Then they said, well, can he go to the races? And they're like, yeah, just make sure you're careful. Like, people aren't handling him like, you know, toss them around or everything. So it was an outlet for me to kind of be normal. It was one of the only places I could go in my life where I felt normal. So
You got racing in the blood.
yeah, yeah. My dad, he built cars. He wrenched on Subway crews. He never really drove per se, and so I would just, I would go to the races with my mom and my little brother, and we would just watch. So
Have you ever gotten in a car? Have you ever raced yourself?
one time, actually, few weeks ago, January 28th, whenever that was.
What do you mean this year?
Yeah, a cage clone. Rachel Humphrey let me be in her cage clone, which is basically a cage cart without a wing with a 5-horse engine in it. And Brian Crockett was my crew chief. And so
How did
it,
you do?
um, I did all right. I felt like I was not setting the world on fire, but I didn't crash, and I felt good. It was a whole new perspective for me. The chain broke in multiple places, so I ran the you know what out of it. So,
Excuse me, everybody, for the cough. Ah, and I see what now. What that's a big size mug.
oh yeah, this is the Deatherage side. This is my wife's favorite movie,
Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid, and so I'm a product placement kind of guy. I got Stefan's chocolate,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Hopefully, I don't. Here, actually, big
Are those
marshmallow.
marshmallows?
Yes, yeah. So I contradict myself because they're vegan marshmallows. Because a friend of mine said, "Hey, you need to watch out for like all these dyes that are in food." So I'm a health conscious oriented person. However, I put like 7 scoops of hot chocolate. So
There
a healthy balance. So
you go. There you go. And you're a father of how many?
8.
Well, that's got to make keep your heart happy and going all the time.
It does. I mean, they don't all live with me right now, but and we had a blended family, and it I mean, I am reminded daily that I have a pulse. Sometimes I have one, but I also have what's even greater is I have a purpose and just doing my best. Even though not every day is a grade A day, it makes those better days better when it gets a little rough. So.
Yeah. Do you want to share a little bit about Stephanie?
Oh, absolutely. So actually, the other day it popped up in my memories, March 5th. That would have been yesterday. 2017. I got to meet her for the first time. I was announcing a broadcast at Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico, California. And the previous week, I was in Marysville. They had the Sherman Laurie Toller Memorial, and she was with Clint Simpson working on their team with the Hunt series, the Wingless series, and at Marysville, Clint Simpson and DJ Johnson were like battling all race long, and I will bet money on that I have, which is a reference of her, that I've never seen a race have 4 red flags coming to the white flag. Like they would just flip, they flip. Last restart, they both DJ Johnson, Clint Simpson get together and they do a double flip. Cody Spencer wins the race and he didn't even lead the lap for like an inch. So they decide after like a flip, or we're good. Anyways, she shared a video and I said, "Hey, thanks for the share." And one thing led to another, and so, "Oh, are you going to be in California that much?" And at the time, it was, "Nah, just in the spring until things get started up here in Oregon. Then I don't know when I'm going to go to California." So she's like, "Well, I might go to Chico. I don't know," because she lived in Santa Rosa at the time, which is a few hours away north of San Francisco. And so she battled I-80 traffic on a Friday evening, afternoon, and drove all the way to Chico, hung out beside me, and then, we were just kind of getting to know each other. It was kind of awkward because I'm announcing the whole time. And then we just kind of walked the pits, and I walked to her car, and I gave her a goodnight kiss, and the rest is.
So who did you both have the love for Disney?
Yeah, that's kind of what sort of our attraction was. So she was California girl, Disney girl. She would go all the time. She had season pass, and I had a season pass at the time because in the winter of 2016, I was working in Long Beach. So for 4 months, almost 5 months, I would work, from 7 to 6, and then I'd go from 6 to midnight to go to Disneyland. That's where I'd go eat there. I'd just ride some attractions, look at little trivia things, find hidden Mickeys, people watch sometimes, and then I'd spend all my off days there. It's kind of like my escape,
Yeah.
and it's been a special place in my heart because. Going back to when I was little, I was so sick. I couldn't do normal things. I was granted a Make-A-Wish to go to Disneyland after all my treatments were completed. and they gave me the green light. And I was about 3 years old when that happened, so 1990. So I was able to do that, and it was just like it was a it was a big deal for me, but I think a big deal for my parents more because they've had to undergo and see me go through all these challenges and everything, and painful things, and yeah, so beautiful deal.
Wow. Wow. And then we had baby.
Sure. So yeah, Steph and I, we met in March of 17. I proposed to her under the fireworks of Fantasia by our favorite ride. Well, my favorite ride, Splash Mountain, was her favorite ride, but Splash Mountain doesn't exist anymore. So
Right.
Pirates of the by the queue there, and it's still there. Every time I go back, I have like just a special pause. Then the following August, we got married, and then we had Regina the following August, August 6th in 2019, and then we had Grant on August 25th of 20. So
Wow. Well, I mean, she's with us all, right? And she's especially
mhm.
with you and the kids.
Yeah, I mean there's daily reminders through Regina especially that just every time she hugs me, it feels like I'm getting a hug from her, or she laughs, it's a laugh from her. And with Grant, he's such an easy baby, knocking on wood. He's starting to come into his own as far as having a little bit of an attitude, but he's 1.5, and he just like when he was a toddler, even when he was teething and stuff, like he was easy. And for me, this is the first time, and for people that don't know the background, a couple weeks after Grant was born, Stephanie passed away due to complications of COVID. And like she's with me in spirit every single day. Every time I have a hard challenge or a hard decision, not hard in the sense of like it's life or death, but like career path stuff, it very big stakes on the line. She's been there with me, just kind of holding my hand or comforting me.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that all happened. You're an inspiration for those that go through those same types of things too, because of your strength and always remembering. So, um, I was going to ask you about your stats. How you have stats more than anybody I've ever known about
Mm-hmm.
everything you can know about. Where'd that come from? And then how do you keep it so organized that you can just remember? Or do you have a photographic memory? Do you have cheat sheets? A
Well,
big spreadsheet?
I have a database, so
Okay.
because because it I first started writing things down when I first started announcing just to remember. And then I would go to more and more tracks and do more and more things or meet more and more people. And obviously, doing it longer, that my memory, even when I was a teenager or in my 20s, it's like, I need to like write this down. And something that I was talking with Bobby Gerald about this the other day. And this isn't a slam against announcers or anything, but you hear it on some broadcasts where it's like, I think he won over there, in Pennsylvania a couple times, or he ran out there and he didn't do that great, kind of, but it just kind of like not precise information. I'm a person of precision. What inspired me to do some of that was originally I had no ambitions to be an announcer. Ever since I was 7, 8 years old, I wanted to be a university professor teaching the Civil War or hit in some sort of military history course. And even when I started announcing, it's like I'm just doing this, whatever. But like this is what my passion is history and teaching people. Well, then I found out pretty soon I am teaching people history. It's not a broad subject like war or the Napoleonic Wars or anything like that, but it is talking about, you know, at this racetrack, this has happened, or this driver has achieved these things at these venues or with this series or at this particular race. And so I track it. Like I spend a lot of time. backfilling data. Like right now, my major project is from 2000 forward, every single World of Outlaw race that's been competed. And like I have in my sprint car database, I have over 12,000 races. So,
Wow.
and it's cool to see how people perform at certain tracks. And my database is just, I love it so much. And mainly because I came up with it, because I'm a person with an inquisitive mind. Like I want to, my mom said when I was really small, like I would always say, why? Well, why is that? Why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? And I just keep thinking of questions that pop in my head. So I can tell you, Carla, Colton Heath's average finish for his whole career in the month of May, how many times he's won on a Friday night, how many times he's raced on a Tuesday night,
Wow.
what is, how many top fives he has on a half mile versus a quarter mile versus a third mile. And, just, yeah, I mean, it helps me so much. And the amount of research, and for any aspiring announcers out there, research, whether you're a pit reporter or you're doing driver interviews or you're a play-by-play or you're a color guy, whatever position you are, you got to research. You got to know the precise fact, not just, I don't know, I name, number, hometown sometimes just doesn't cut it. So
And walking through the pits, know who's there and know who they are.
sure. Yeah, and that's very important. That's absolutely important because th- there are times where you walk up and it's like, "Oh, this is John Smith in car 17." He's driven it for 30 years. But then that one time you don't go by, it's Johnny Smith, his son is driving. John couldn't make it today. So that's something that I learned was my mentor, Fred Rannard. Fred Rannard Jr. was national sprint tour announcer, Northern Sprint Tour announcer, Skagit Speedway announcer, and so huge influence on me.
A huge influence on you because I think people who don't even know you and hear you, the mannerisms or the way it's presented or said, you sound like him so many of the times.
hmm
Pretty
I
cool.
The only the deal breaker where people go, that's not Fred, is he's not talking about lacrosse or hockey. So that's where starts to shine.
How often do you get to see Fred?
I haven't seen Fred since Winter Heat 2015, and it's kind of a beautiful story. He was supposed to be the keynote speaker for the Elma Auto Racing Hall of Fame in 2020. And Stephanie had organized this deal where she had contacted the Elma Hall of Fame. I think Bob Valencia had something to do with it at the time still when he was around. Um, and it was going to be this big surprise. We were going to go. I had no idea that Fred was going to be there and do that. And it was like a week before COVID. And then they canceled it. So I talked to him at least once a month. But since we talk once a month, our conversations are usually 3.5 hours. So it's just all about reminiscing what's going on, even just like how our families are doing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, um, all the accomplishments that you've had, is there something that's out there? Maybe down the road, maybe there's a number of years before you do it, but is there something that you haven't done that you just one day will do
Hmm.
or want to make sure it gets done?
Well, I mean, so I'm a person that I don't like to settle and be like, you know what, this is good. I like to I'm my worst critic. Like I'll announce a race play by play, and I could have, to a common fan or to a diehard fan, like, wow, that sounded great. It's like, man, I made like 20 mistakes. I did okay. Like that was a C grade kind of thing. But I'm so tough on myself and I push myself so hard. Sometimes a little too hard, but as far as things I'd like to accomplish, like I leave nothing on the table, as far as, yeah, I don't want to mess with that kind of thing. And growing up, and even Fred told me this, like, you never know where life is going to take you. Like, so don't just focus on one thing. Always have your ears open. I went through the IMCA route for a number of years and did some wonderful things. Went to the Super Nationals last year, was at the Winter Nationals in Kokopah for 2 weeks this year, been to the Harris Clash in Minnesota. It's taken me so, incredible places that I never would have dreamed of. I mean, as far as things I'd like to do, like I have short-term goals, like, and then I have long-term goals. The biggest probably being on the televised team for Formula One. That would be for me
Well,
like ultimate. You get to travel each race is in a different country. You're dealing with all sorts of different personalities. And if that wasn't it, I mean, this is non. I mean, if we're gonna have it be non-racing, to commentate on a UEFA Champions League final, that would be incredible.
that's awesome. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Wow. So I guess, you're in front of people because you're the announcer, and sometimes you're down the track side, so people see you.
Mhm.
But do you have a preference if you're front of the camera or behind the camera? Because I know you're a great writer.
Um, it doesn't really. I don't really have a preference at all. When I started, and for the longest time, I enjoyed being behind the mic. Typing the story after the race, all that stuff. That was fun. And then we would have banquets, and it's like, man, I really don't like this because everyone's looking at me now, kind of thing. All eyes are on me. And I'd have to say it was a combination of Stephanie, like being that encouraging factor,
Uh-huh.
my racing career of like, you should go do this or do that. And then unfortunately, since her passing, but silver lining that's came out of that, I've realized how brave and strong I can be. Not saying that I'm, Heracles or anything, but then I started like, you know what? I'm gonna start doing TikToks. Like, who cares? Like, I'm a dad and I do dumb things. I tell the worst but best dad jokes ever. And 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 then I started doing like IMCA TV for the Winter Nationals. They need 30 minutes. They had a 30-minute farming session. Like we've rolled all of our content that we put out, like, me doing pre-race interviews and commercials and adverts and everything like that. Just go out maybe like 10 minutes and we'll just have 20 minutes. Well, I know me as a race fan, I hate looking at just like, no, maybe just some light tone music going on, looking at a track. It's like, okay, so at this race, there's like 240 cars from all over the Fred reference, North America, because there was a lot of Canadians there. And I just started like, I was like going into people's trailers, asking what they're eating, talking to their dogs, you know, telling some random story at a fire pit and then just walking off, things like that. So I've learned to be like a little bit more like, look, when I'm in that mode, it's just kind of low key and funny. So
Right?
people, production is like, we didn't realize you were funny. We thought you were serious all the time. It's like, I'm. What are you talking about? Like, I'm cool. So,
Yeah, exactly. Do you have a moment or an event that you're the most proud of?
mm, I mean, honestly, really anyone, whether it's a cage kart race that I was at, and there was only, and this has happened where there's only like 12 cars, or Red Bluff, there's 203, 207 cars, and it's just me, or working, infield reporting at the IMCA Winter Nationals in Kokopah. Winter Heat was a big deal. I really think every race is special because it's brought me to the moment where I am now and where I'm going, and it doesn't matter how many people were listening or who's there, because it's making me go forward and forward. And I feel like I'm on the doorstep of some really big things. Where it's going to go, I don't know, but I'm just trying to enjoy it and not stress out about it. And,
Do
the logistics.
you get nervous, or when did you stop getting nervous?
Oh, I get nervous all the time. Uh,
Really?
I get anxious.
Oh,
Uh, I'd say anxious more than nervous. Like even if it's all right, we're having you do like this small cage cart race. There's only 10 people that are going to be here. We're probably not going to have a big video audience, and it's just like okay, just because it's a very humbling sport. You never know when the opportunities are going to come, and you never know when the opportunities are going to stop coming. So but with that anxiety, I'm able to just like wrestle around. I can be a little bit unbearable to be around sometimes, and Stephanie would definitely be able to testament to that of just like nervous energy, like oh man, like who's even going to show up or what's going to happen or oh man, I hope this race goes good. And it's like, well, you just stop and just okay, and then I get relaxed, and then when the mic gets turned on, all of it goes away. um, and it's like 50,000 people. I just treat it that way, as if 50,000 people are listening or watching, even though it could be like seven on a broadcast, or it could be 50,000 people. You never know. So
right. Well, it's a lot like a racer. A racer says they're nervous up until the point they get in the car and start racing, and then it's just they're racing. They're working.
yeah,
They're doing what they do.
yeah. Once I get, I mean, like I will admit, like when I'm in a new environment or a new situation, I do get a little bit on the edgy side. Mainly the night before. I like to show up, especially if I'm traveling a long distance. I like to show up the night before, and if I'm getting a little too much, I will go for a walk. I'll walk and I'll listen to some music. I'll pray or what. Like just call somebody on the phone and just get it
Yeah.
out kind of, and then I go to bed and I'm still a little nervous in the morning, and then once I put my pit pass band on, it starts to wear off a little bit because I'm talking to drivers, talking to teams, getting information, occupying myself, so I'm not worrying about it. And then I
Right.
are and it's like okay, are the speakers okay, is the volume right and everything. But now I feel like I'm pretty confident with my ability to detect audio issues and to troubleshoot them.
Mm.
So but I think if I were to go into an event and not be nervous, it would really worry me, because it I feel like it humbles me, and it makes me feel like okay, I'm mortal, like
Right.
the magic's still there kind of thing.
So, like a racer, are you superstitious about anything, or have good luck juju that you do?
Well, I'm looking at it like if I don't have this on while I'm taking a phone call, like something bad's gonna happen, kind of thing. Uh,
Really?
if I'm waiting for a gig for a phone call, I'll never answer it in the backyard. Just because like when I was going through the whole thing with Steph in the hospital, I'd be in the backyard with the kids. Every time I answered it, it would be a bad phone call. When I'd be in the front yard, it would be a good phone call. Um, Gosh, it used to be when I would drive to Cottage Grove, if I wasn't on the front row of the parking lot, it meant that I was super late, and it was going to be a bad day, or it was going to not be a bad day, but it was going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
I
Huh.
um, but other than that, I don't know. Like I'll play kind of the same song. Uh, there's a song that I listen to whether I'm getting on an airplane to fly for an event, or like when I was doing Super Nationals. I was I was really nervous about that, and then I just like blared it probably more louder than it needs to be, and yeah, and it just kind of calms me down.
Just kind of clears it all out.
There's about yeah.
So, starting a new podcast this year,
Hmm.
what was the goal with that, and how often do you do it? Are you're trying to two a week, something like that, or more racers, more events, more track promoters? Is there a goal there, or just kind of whatever fancies you at the time?
Well, so I feel there's something that I realized. It was actually a little bit after Warpa, and you were there, and they were saying more content, have it be not green and checkered, all that business. Have it be personalities. Bring these drivers to get more eyeballs, or have people listen to it that have no idea who these people are. Humanize them. They're not robots driving
Right.
around. And I had done some of that stuff before, like with IMCA. I had a podcast, had my radio show when I was in high school with just recap of results and stuff. And it was just one of those epiphany moments where I'm like, I can do this again. I know that it hasn't been as successful in the past. However, and this is a motto going back to it, all my shortcomings or failures have prepared me to do better on the next attempt. So, as long as you learn from them, but if you're making the same mistakes, then you haven't learned anything. And so with that, I just was thinking a bit about it, and talking to some people, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna do like a pilot show. I'm gonna call Dominic Selzy, talk about racing topics, obviously winning 2 consecutive NARC 410 Sprint Series titles, but then what do you do in the off season? Like, what's the story here? What's the story there? You being a dad, do you drive different now, or more aggressive, or you're more passive, or you're more conscious of other things going around? Um, but that has taken off. So I did that before Christmas, before I left for Arizona for 2 weeks. And I didn't have my sound equipment with me, and I'm like, gosh dang, like, man, like, I hope I didn't, have it fizzle out and die. And so I hit it really hard, like about a week after I got back, and I lined up some interviews. And ever since, I don't know what the date is, about like January 26th, somewhere in there, I've had an episode every single weekday. And um, it's congested a little bit as far as the schedule. The hardest thing is to coordinate the interviews. Fortunately, and this is the problem I ran into when I did stuff for IMCA, I was dealing with all 4 time zones. With this, I'm only dealing with one, with Pacific Standard Time. So
Right.
that helps. As far as the congestion go, I have a lot of interviews. I have probably like 10 more that need to be released. And it's kind of getting crunch time because race season starting here soon. So there may be some that get released on the weekend. But I also approached race promoters talking about their schedule, why they should come to your race, what are some highlights for your series, where's the best way to get information, especially for people that have never been there.
Yeah.
And I think it's going successful. So it's on YouTube.
Okay, I was just going to ask you. I've been listening to them, and they're great. And I kind of catch it on Facebook first, and then it leads me right to the YouTube. So,
And then for people that, and I get it, YouTube may not be their thing because maybe you don't have YouTube Premium, so your phone goes to sleep and locks up. It's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, it's on Amazon Music, so you can play it on, my thing is right here, but the Alexa. So I don't want it to deploy. I'll
oh,
got
I gotcha. I gotcha.
it on Alexa. So Alexa, stop. But um and iHeartRadio. Just got on iHeartRadio. I think that's about it that I'm going to do for that, because I don't want to dilute it too much. It just gives kind of a broad, there's major ways you can listen to it. And I think I hit all the major points.
It
Um,
sounds like.
as far as the future going forward, like, racing started now. The Sherman Laurie Toller Memorial was ran last Friday. And so actually right now, before you called, I was working on putting together like a little bit of a recap video. It may not be highlights, but like a rundown of the full field, and grabbing an interview with Tanner Carrick, who won the race, and Andy Forsberg, and just how your guys' night went. Just 1-2 minute shots,
So
quick.
do you carry a camera that you're using somebody else's photos or video, or are you doing it yourself?
So I just share what like Marysville had on their page.
Okay.
Ask for permission for it, and then that's happening. There is in the pipeline a podcast coming out for NARC. to
Mhm.
where we'll be interviewing drivers, and like each week there'll be some new people on there. And most of those, like for a preview and event, will be, like I said, 1 2 minute hits about, all right, mini gold cup, silver dollar speedway, tell me about it. And then they just go on their spiel. We've ran really great there, never won it, we want to win it, we feel like we got a good shot. Or it's like, no, we've run terrible there. Like any I could be leading a race and a thunderbolt from 100 miles away will hit me and my car will, stop all of a sudden. But yeah, and then I just throw in some of my stats rundown that I have for that. Narc only went there one time last year for the David Tardo Memorial, and Corey Day won it. And talking about Corey Day's record last year, which was so strong with 4 wins with the series, and just things like that, and make it fun. And I try and keep it at a reasonable length. Like 20 minutes is like my target, and sometimes it goes over. There was a
Right.
special parter with Bobby Gerald, which was, almost an hour and a half. But things like that, or the special ones go a little long. Fred is going to get on there at some point. That is going to be like a 5-parter.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just try and get a snapshot of how their year was last year and how their year is going this year, or what they want to do this year. And then I can build off of it. Okay, we talked about, yeah, this is what you were planning to do, and then this is what you did for 23. Now we're going on to 24. So kind of a circle
Yeah.
movement
So
there.
share with us this new position with Jim Allen and Narc.
Well, I'm really excited for it. I'm going to be the press officer for the Northern Auto Racing Club. I was shocked a little bit, like when I got the phone call, just the way it was presented to me. Just the way Jim was kind of started off talking to me. It's like, I must have not got it, and it's like, okay, it's fine. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take,
Right.
and he's like, I really feel like you were the best fit, like right out of the gate and stuff. And so, we've collaborated with some good ideas, I think, and I think we'll just build it. It is a lot of traveling involved, but I'm not intimidated by that or scared of that. I'm excited for that. And I think there's some other things happening too in the works that I can't really commentate about. I haven't
Right.
heard either or if it's green or red on that. But also going to be spending lots of time at King Speedway in Hanford again with Peter, and I've really just enjoyed getting to know him. And the great thing about him and I is we talk about racing and ideas and stuff, but we'll also be like talking a lot about Formula One. He's a huge Formula One fan, so there's a
Really?
tidbit for you Fab listeners out there. And I was and he's got me talking like him a little bit now. So uh,
Oh no.
when
Well,
we text, hey, how you rolling, mate? So,
yes. I'll share with you maybe it was last fall. It was last fall, I believe, when you were traveling with PJ
okay.
and doing the stream. He told me, he goes, you know who I'm really impressed with? And so I'm kind of curious on who he's impressed with. And I was like, who? And he goes, Ben Deatherage. I go, wow, yeah. So, so back then, I know he had eyes for you, had eyes on you. That's for sure, eyes and ears.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And he's such a asset to the sport, and he's looking to make it better. And I really do believe that he's got some great ideas and some good vision. And yeah, I'm excited to see, I mean, the partnership that he has with the management group at Skagit Speedway is phenomenal. I'm hoping to get there a couple times this year. And then obviously what he's done at Hanford has really brought that place back to life and made it seem steady, where there were some years where Hanford would start a season and get shut down, or it wasn't around. So he's
right,
brought consistency of the place staying open. He's loved in the Central Valley, and even entirely on the West Coast. So
right. He's got lots of ideas and lots of plans, and he wants it to happen faster than it
sure.
is. But we all understand things take time.
Sure. And that's probably my biggest Achilles heel when it comes to quality is like, all right, let's get it done now, because and I don't know if that's a Walt Disney thing of just want it done now because I have another project we got to get in them. But it's a sequence of events. I can't get to there before I get to here. So, but
Well,
yeah,
well,
I'm excited. You know, lots of traveling. I was telling my mom the other day. I was just sitting in the hotel getting ready to do Red Bluff last week, and I'm like, how many? I'm putting this schedule together, and if I mean, you know, rainouts happen and stuff, so I am there's the chance of that. But my next weekend off is like Christmas, potentially. Just for weather, for on I haven't even counted how many races I have on the docket, but it's a lot. I've already did I think, gosh, it's a doubleheader weekend at Red Bluff this weekend, so I'm pushing 20 races already this year.
wow,
And
wow.
honestly, the average car count of the races that I've announced for has been about like 190 cars, which is crazy. So
It's really crazy. Can
yeah,
you see comments on the side here?
I
The
can't.
comments,
If I go to chat,
up to comments. I think if you can see that, but it's Katie Cooley says always wise words from Mr. Ben. And then she said, he turned laps, LOL. And then she says, dude is full of full facts. And then Laura Barley Taylor says, miss hearing your voice at Cottage Grove, Speedway Ben.
nice. And what somebody asked if I speak Russian. I don't. Um oh, French. Uh, I that was speaking to the dog in German. Uh, so Laura Barley's question to be answered, like I said, Amazon Music, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or simply YouTube. Um, yeah, so Tabitha brings up a great. I have a love of languages because I'm a curious person, and I love history, and language has history, and I self-taught myself how to speak French, German, Italian, um, a little bit of Latin, a little bit of Danish, Dutch, and I know a bit of Spanish just from school, and also using it while working in LA and things like that. So
Wow. Well, you're going to be a busy guy, and I hope that you're going to be able to pull up a chair maybe again sometime with me with a hot cup of cocoa. And just like a racer, I'm going to ask you, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
you know, my parents a lot, you know, because it was if it, A, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Right?
And then B, you know, just encouraging me. And you know, being an announcer is so hard sometimes, because you get moments where you feel stuck, like you plateau, and then there's times where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to the top, and then there's times where it's like, oh, I'm going down the elevator now. You just stay humble and keep working hard and don't give up believing. Obviously my kids, they're my inspiration every day, you know. Even though I love hearing that I'm inspiring to other people, really the root of that is my children, you know, because without them, this whole scenario would be really tough. As it's already tough. Obviously, Stephanie is a huge factor, and because when she came around, I was actually, yeah, I was announcing races, but there was a moment where it's like, you know, like, I don't know if this is for me, kind of thing. Maybe I should like find a 9 to 5 or something like that. And then, you know, she got me motivated to get back into it, retool,
And
strategize,
you got her announcing
and I,
and
yeah,
doing track side.
answer. She started out trackside, you know, doing like red flag incident reports, just simple, how's your car doing, all that good business. And then it transformed into doing post race interviews. And then what was happening, I was starting to take off with IMCA and be going to different events. And she's like, go ahead, go and get that because it'd be like a last minute deal. Go ahead, go there. I'll just announce for you. And it's like, okay. So we'd be tuning in to each other announcing, and it was really fun. I did terrible. It's like, no, it's okay. You did terrible. I messed up I said this wrong or something.
Like you said, you're the hardest on yourself.
Sure, sure. And yeah, I mean, and I'll be honest, a lot of people don't know this. This time last year, I was kind of done with racing. It was like, man, I feel like all the signs are pointing, the gigs that I was signed up for, they were just falling through for one reason or the other, nobody's fault. And I was like, I don't know, maybe this was just Stephanie and I's thing. And Troy Henning got a hold of me, and a couple months later in May, was like, hey, like Jim Allen's looking for somebody to do the swing up for NARC, and your name's been brought up by so many people. Are you available? Well, I'm supposed to go to Texas for a speed week. I'm not available. Okay, all right, I'll let him know. And I said, I'll let you know if something changes. Well, it did change. So then I contacted Jim. He's like, nope, we got it handled. Tracks are going to take care of it. Okay. Then I was able to kind of work with some of the tracks in Oregon to do it, and it was like a major turning point, probably the biggest turning point in my career of like, I can do this. Like, because after everything with Stephanie and having to go through that and realize like I'm just a dad now, like my kids need me. And it was one of those moments where Stephanie's like, you're not done yet, like what are you doing, like, but you may have fallen off the horse or whatever bourgeois cliche, but it's okay, like just keep moving on. And that has propelled me into this, into now I'm going to be with NARC, going to every race and helping announce with a lot of events and stuff. And I think 23, I'm going potent again, with the possibility of cancellations or rainouts, 20 different racing facilities this year.
Wow. Wow.
It's
Well, wish you the very best of luck. You'll do awesome as always. And can't wait to talk to you again very soon and see you. I hope our paths cross.
Yes, yeah, I'll be at Skagit. I think for Summer Nationals for sure, the Survive the 55 sprint modified race. I'm trying to work Pete to find some sort of role for me for Dirt Cup. So,
Oh, awesome. That'd be great.
hey,
Okay. Thank you, Ben. Take care and take that extra breath every once in a while.
yeah, I will.
It's going to be busy. Okay. Bye
Yes.
bye. Thank you for
Bye.
joining me on Coffee with Carla.